Hello, this is Dr. Ahmed and respected Dr. David Waterman, Mrs. Dr. David Waterman, and his colleagues, along with the many of the faculty members and intelligentsia sitting and taking part in the activity. And I also welcome the audience here, consisting of students probably. I am here to say, first of all, very good morning to all of the people present here. Today, in the presence of these foreign dignitaries, as well as our indigenous fellows, I'm going to talk on a very new topic which is relevant to migrations. The topic is like waiting in migration, its causes and its consequences. This topic is not only new but also goes to throw a lot of light on the plight of the people who migrate from one country to the other. Today, my task is to highlight how post colonial literature goes to talk about this migration and the waiting which happens in through the migrations most of the time, and how much it is affecting the life of those people who are migrating constantly. Migration phenomenon has increased with the passage of time, especially after 9/11 and after globalization. Migration level has increased beyond limits, and it can be judged from some of the facts. For example, if we see that when Mohsen Hamid was preparing to write this novel Exit West, at that time in 2015, the estimate of the refugees and the asylum seekers who wanted to take refuge in other countries or who wanted to save their lives in 2015, their number was more than 21 lakh or 2100,000. These people were displaced from their countries. These people were seeking asylum into different countries. And as a result, they were moving from one part of the world to so many other parts of the world. And in this way, that was really very fascinating to see if such a large number of people migrate from one place to the other, what happens to them. And for this purpose, I have taken the novel Exit West by Mohsen Hamid. Let us see how Mohsen Hamid has dealt with this phenomena of migration and how he has tried to show what happens at that time when such a large flux of people keeps on moving. Uh, Mohsen Hamid, as you know, is famous for many of his writings. For example, we can name some of them here. Smoke, for example. After that, How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia. And then the last two ones, The Reluctant Fundamentalist and The Exit West. These two last novels are really concerned with the diasporic movement of the people. The first one, as we all know, that Hamid's hero, Genghis Khan, has first of all to migrate from his own country to USA. And after that, he again anti-migrates from USA to Pakistan. And as a result, Mohsen Hamid's interest is quite visible in the migrants and the movement and the causes and the consequences. This can be understood from the words of Chandler, who wrote in 2017. Like he says that migration has become a universal experience. This migration its universal experience is far larger than the kind of space which is available for these migrants. And as a result, the hugest possible problem is going to occur in the life of these people. We are here now to see how this kind of problem may be occurring. But before we go further, let us talk something about the novel Exit West by Mohsen Hamid. In this novel, Mohsen Hamid has used a very unique technique, and that is the technique of magic doors. Though magic doors may be used in past time, or in the postmodern literature, these magic doors may be used. But here, these magic doors are specially used in order to create a kind of facility so that the dangers of travel, dangers of moving during the nights in the difficult kind of terrains and areas may be removed. And the boundaries of the countries may be reached in the wink of an eye. But still, whatever the case may be, these refugees do get a type of facility through these magic doors by Mohsen Hamid whenever they want to reach the destinations which are the northern destinations. They face a type of specific problem in their lives, and that problem is that they have to wait, they have to stop, they have to undergo lots of difficulties. So I want to say that even the presence of these magical doors do not facilitate the refugees to save themselves from the kind of troubles which they have to face or they have to undergo. Let us see how Mohsen Hamid has dealt with this issue. For example, Mohsen Hamid is repeating here once again that when the people are going towards the northern areas of the world, the problem definitely is there. And this is again the problem because of the situations which they have to face. And these situations are the situations where the migrants are greater in number than the kind of welcoming attitude which they have from the people of North. So that is why this thing creates problems and becomes problematic. For example, we have lots of theories regarding this. Like David Bessel has talked about that, same is the case with Conlon as well. David Bessel, for example, while doing research on the importance of waiting, he has theorized about the mobilities which occur because of these people. He says that there is some kind of waiting all the time involved, especially when someone is arriving near the boundary of any rich country at that time. There is the thing which may be called the kind of waiting happens there. Same is the case with Conlon, who says that mobility always creates immobility. And Bright Hess has also talked about the people who want to get asylum. He says that these people also face a type of issue, and that is going to be the issue which is relevant to waiting as well. So these three people, David Bessel and Cologne and Bridget has tried to show that all the time there will be some kind of waiting, and these waiting are necessarily the part of migration. So far we come to know that if a text is about migration, definitely there will be the waiting, and as a result there will be consequences of that waiting as well. Now let's see how this waiting has been taken by some other theorists and critics as well. For example, we can see that there is again the critic Gasparini, who in 1995 talked about the waiting which happens because of the queues. For example, people are standing in queue and they have to wait. That element of waiting can also be found in the same way in the migration issues as well. Harold Schweizer, who has written a full book on waiting, and his book is more concerned about the waiting which involves migration. He says that there are many issues which are happening because of this waiting. For example, Schweizer says that time must certainly be endured rather than traversed, felt rather than thought. In waiting, time is slow, thick, etc. So, according to Schweizer, time is the maximum thing that keeps on happening in order to make the people realize that they have to spend time, they have to wait. And this time he calls it a thick time because it passes with great difficulty, and it has the mental, the physical effects upon the people, the migrants who are going through that. Let us see how some of the more opinion can be generated from Mohsen Hamid's views and other people as well. For example, we have another critic and theorist and writer whose name is Rebbaca Rotters. She has also talked about the narratives of the refugees. Rebecca says that there is all the time experience of waiting, protracted waiting rather. Whenever somebody migrates at that time, waiting is there. And this waiting is like the very much protracted waiting. Because of this protraction, what happens is the complexity involved and the sense of emptiness created, the sense of idleness created, the sense of suspended time created among the people who are involved in this kind of waiting. Similarly, some emotional or cognitive issues may also be happening because of this waiting. So we have seen that all these critics agree that when someone migrates, especially in this globalized world, post-colonial world, and post 9/11 world, at that time, there are the causes and the consequences which make the people enthusiastic, or they make them the people who are worried, upset, and they are very much concerned about the problems which can happen to them because of this waiting. And this waiting has also been proved through the opinion of this critic that it does happen. It cannot be avoided. Either you are an asylum seeker, or you are a refugee, or you are just migrating, or you are an illegal refugee. The kind of thing, waiting has to happen there. Let us see how Mohsen Hamid has dealt with this kind of waiting. Let us take one, first of all, the first passage from Exit West. If we read this passage very quickly indeed, Mohsen Ahmed says it was said in those days that the passage was both like dying and like being born. And indeed, Nadia experienced a kind of extinguishing as she entered the blackness and gasping struggle as she fought to exit it. And she felt cold and bruised and damp as she lay on the floor of the room at the other side, trembling and too spent at the first stand. And she thought, while she strained to fill her lungs with the dampness, must be her own sweat. And this is the type of quote. This definitely goes to talk about the condition of Nadia, the protagonist in the novel Exit West, that she was not at all comfortable and she was feeling the situation in which one feels very much enthusiastic. So her opinion about herself, that she's becoming the part of that dirt, the part of that uncleanliness which she felt at that time when she was on the path of her migration. This type of feeling that is happening not because she's migrating, but because she has to wait at certain island, and during this wait she is feeling this kind of situation, and that will definitely cause in her the mental change or the change which she may be having because of this difficult situation in herself, in her body as well. In the same way, if we proceed to another quote by Mohsen Hamid, which is a second passage that I have taken. For example, Mohsen Hamid says that Said and Nadia find themselves on Mykonos and in refugee camp. They attempt to join a crowd rushing towards the new door that is rumored to link to Germany, but like many doors to places in rather in richer countries, it is heavily guarded and they are turned away. Now, there is the big issue that Mohsen Hamid has brought in once again. The migrants, for example, move from the poorer areas of the world and they need to go to those areas of the world which are richer areas. And whenever this type of movement happens, that I mean, from south to the north, that becomes difficult because the north is restricting the way, and the same thing happens here. The magic door, which had very quickly transported Nadia from and Said, her companion, in a very easy way from the country they were belonging to, but it's posing a lot of problem when they want to enter into the northern areas, richer countries at that time. Therefore, they have to wait and see how they can go and how they cannot go forward. Same is the case with the second part of this passage. Days passed like this, full of waiting and false hopes, days that might have been days of boredom and were for many, but Nadia had the idea that they should explore the island as if they were tourists. So this is a desperate kind of attempt on the part of Nadia, that she is trying to think in such a way as if to make her migration and the period of wait as a type of excursion or a trip to some beautiful places. So that is why she has decided to advise her companion that they should explore the island. So this exploration and desire to explore is again the desire that the waiting is there, and that waiting somehow is to be removed because it is affecting them physically as well as mentally. Going one step further, let's talk about the third passage that I have selected from the text of Mohsen Hamid. It's being said about London, the stay of these people, Nadia and Said in London. As their mobility outside the house and in the neighborhood contracts further, Nadia and Said, who had run from war already and did not know where next to run, find themselves waiting like so many others. So in this passage also we see that the word waiting has been repeated twice, and there's a kind of helplessness as well. The Although the people are living in London, these two people, Nadia and Said, they have reached London in this passage, but we see that they cannot go outside. They are being restricted, they are being limited, and they have to wait till the time their papers get ready, or they can definitely go forward in order to do the things they have come far, earn the money they have come far, or to enjoy the kind of civilization they have come far, but they cannot because they have to wait, because they are restricted. So even after reaching the target which they are supposed to reach, after passing through the magic doors, after passing through number of difficulties, it's still very difficult to enjoy the same. So they have to wait. So wait therefore becomes the cause of number of mental as well as physical issues. So this is not really enthusiastic. It is enthusiastic as well as boring, as well as very much worrisome, as well as creating a type of tension in the brain, which can result into number of other issues. Let me show you another passage which I have taken from the same text, Exit West by Mohsen Hamid. And that passage is fourth passage here. For example, Hamid is saying that Nadia and Said the calm that is called the calm before the storm, but is in the reality the foundation of human life, waiting here for us between the steps of our march or mortality, when we are compelled to pause and not act but be. So this passage also goes to talk about compelling, the compulsion to stop, the compulsion to wait. At that time, the author is trying to speak through the tongue of these two people, Nadia and Said, by saying that they were so much upset about that they have to. They just have to keep alive and they have to wait as well. This wait definitely here has become the part of migration. So we can say that migration, if it takes because of any reasons, that does have its consequences. And especially at that time when the people, the migrants, are forced to stay at one place, forced to wait at one place, at that time, not only their psychologies change, but also their physical conditions may also change, and their desires, their thinking, or their love with each other, or the feelings of sympathy and empathy for each other may also change. And as a result, we also see in this novel of Mohsen Hamid that something is coming changed in the mind and brain of Nadia as well as Said. For example, look at this slide. It says that magical doors, although they were very much quickening of the global movement, and same was the case with the other things as well. They were happening, facilitating, the migration was facilitated, but it provided a chance to side to react to this kind of situation where he had to wait. For example, he's shown to be a nationalist because he tries to collect his countrymen together, and with the help of the religious kind of bonding he tries to create. And in that way, he too becomes a type of nationalist and tries to show what is going on inside him, even after going outside his country and looking for some rightful path, some rightful place for him in the world. With the passage of time, he is denied these things as well. So all his efforts to make himself a successful person become weaker and weaker with the passage of time, only because he has to wait for some time. He cannot reach his goal so quickly, and that's why he keeps on waiting as well. I must say that the results of such issues which had taken place can be really seen and gathered because of the situation of migration and that of the waiting. The end of the novel goes to show to us that Nadia, one day, after spending all these waiting moments, comes close to a Said with whom she has spent so many years, with whom she has migrated from her own country. She says to him and tells him, okay, I cannot live with you anymore. And for this purpose, she doesn't have any remorse, any sorry. This is the change which Nadia has got because of the waiting, because of so long suffering in waiting and migration. So therefore, if Nadia is changing, she has got the courage to say no to Said. Same as the case with Said, that he too tries to think in this way, and so he's also changing, thinking about marrying a girl and parting the ways from Nadia. So when Nadia is going at that time, Said stops and doesn't stop her. He himself stops there and uses no moves in order to stop her from going away. Both part the ways and just are able to meet in the end of the novel. So this is my whole words that I wanted to say. And this is the word to say thank you to all of you, that you people have listened to me quite patiently. And thank you to Dr. David Waterman. Hopefully, I will be seeing him in next coming conference in Faisalabad. And thank you very much all the foreign dignitaries and the local indigenous faculty fellows. Thank you very much for watching all that. I'm really obliged for this. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you have enjoyed it as well. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.